Hi guys, welcome back to I Speak English. In this lesson today, we're going to be taking a look at some C1 advanced vocabulary for talking about personality. So this vocabulary is actually based on the podcast episode that I released a couple of weeks ago. If you didn't know I have a podcast, you can click up there and you can listen to half-hour episodes on different topics. There's tons of vocabulary in there for you. Lots of phrasal verbs, idioms. It's basically just me talking in my normal voice, using advanced level, native level English to talk about a range of topics. It's British English, and the topics are generally pretty interesting. I like to choose stuff that will keep you engaged. And I like to slip in some kind of idiomatic expressions in there as well. So you can click up there and save that podcast for later. Meanwhile, we're going to take a look at 4 phrasal verbs and 4 idiomatic expressions from this podcast episode, and I'm also going to show you how you can use them in the Cambridge C1 speaking exam as well. But before we take a look at that, please do make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and if you learned something new today, please give this video a like. It just helps it to reach more people so that they can find the channel as well. Right, we're going to get started then. Right, so let's take a look at our vocabulary for personality then. We're going to start off with phrasal verbs. I've got 4 of them for you, and I'm going to give you some example sentences. Hopefully you'll be able to figure out what the phrasal verb means from the sentence, and then I'm also going to test you on them as well. So don't go anywhere because I will be testing you throughout this video to make sure that you've understood and you remember the phrasal verbs. We're going to start with our first one, which is bring out. Now, we use this in quite a specific context for personality, in that we use the sentence bring out the best in someone. You can also bring out the worst in someone as well, meaning that you make someone behave in a really nice, good way or in a terrible way. For example, let's take a look at the example sentence. Sarah is such a supportive friend. She really brings out the best in everyone around her. Okay, so she makes everyone around her feel good, behave in a nice way, be nice, be happy. It's a really positive thing. But you can also say bring out the worst in someone as well. Okay, so that's our first phrasal verb. Our second one is take after. Now, you may have heard me mention this in a lesson before. Often when you're talking about family, we hear this phrasal verb, but it's also used for personality as well in the same way. For example, Mark is incredibly stubborn. He definitely takes after his grandfather in that regard. So what do you think take after means in this sentence? If you take after someone, particularly someone in your family, let's look at that sentence again. He's incredibly stubborn. He takes after his grandfather in that regard. What does that mean? So it means he's very similar to his grandfather. He takes that personality trait from his grandfather. You can also use this for physical traits as well. So if you have the same eyes as somebody, or the same nose, or you just generally look like them, you can take after them as well. Okay, so that's our second phrasal verb. Number 3 is to come across as. So not to be confused with come across, which is a different phrasal verb with a different meaning. Come across as, if we take a look at our example, she can come across as a bit aloof at first, but she is actually warm and friendly once you get to know her. So what does come across as mean in this context? If you come across as aloof, first of all, do you know what aloof means? That might be a new word for you there. This word was also in the podcast episode as well. Aloof is like, maybe a bit cold, a bit reserved, distant. You're not so friendly. Aloof. So if you come across as aloof, but then you actually tend to be quite warm and friendly afterwards, what does come across as mean? Means that you seem a particular way, or you, like people perceive you in a particular way. So she seemed quite aloof at first, or I thought she was quite aloof at first, means you come across as. And then we often use it with an adjective. You come across as arrogant, come across as aloof, come across as reserved. So we often use an adjective after this, meaning to seem. Again, not to be confused with come across. If you come across something, it means you kind of find something by chance. Okay, so watch out for those two similar words there. And I've got one more phrasal verb for you here, to show off. He tends to show off whenever there's an audience, which can make him seem a bit arrogant. What does show off mean? So if it makes you seem arrogant, what are you doing when you're showing off, especially in front of other people? If you're showing off, you're kind of trying to make yourself look good or look better than other people. Often we tend to equate this with like money or status. So you can also show off an object. Let's say you bought a really fancy watch and you're like, oh, look at my watch, isn't it amazing? You know, you're showing it off. But you can also show off just in general if you're like, yeah, trying to get attention from people and trying to make yourself seem like cool or amazing or better than other people around you. So our example again was he tends to show off whenever there's an audience, which can make him seem a bit arrogant. Okay. Right, let's see if you were paying attention then. If you've got those 4 phrasal verbs in your head and you know what they mean, I'm going to test you twice now. I'm going to give you 2 different sentences and you need to fill the gap here with the phrasal verb that you think is correct. So our sentence is, he as extremely confident on stage, even though he admits to getting terrible stage fright. You have bring out, come across, take after. He as extremely confident on stage, even though he admits to getting terrible stage fright. You need to fill that gap with one of these phrasal verbs and the correct grammar as well. If you think you know the answer, put it in the comments. And then I'll correct you later. So you've got 5 seconds to do this, okay? I'm going to give you 5 seconds from now. Fill that gap. Off you go. Okay, your 5 seconds are up. What do you think? What did you go for? He. Well, we have an adjective there. And I did say one of the phrasal verbs, often we use adjectives and they come after. What do you think? He comes across as extremely confident on stage, even though he admits to getting terrible stage fright. Ooh, sorry, I put a double as there. Oh, I gave you a I gave you a bit of a clue there. I added as without meaning to. Apologies. You got one for free. The next one's going to be a bit harder, okay? Hopefully. Yes, it is. It's fine. Okay. All right, our next one. Let's take a look. So neither of his parents are artistic, so nobody is sure who he with his talent for painting. You have bring out, show off, or take after. What do you think is going to fill that gap? You've got 5 seconds. Off you go. All right, time's up. What did we go for? So again, we've mentioned family here, one of the phrasal verbs we were talking about. I said we often use it for talking about family and similarities between family members. So this was take after. So neither of his parents are artistic. So who is he similar to there? His mum or his dad? We're not sure because nobody has this personality trait. So maybe there's someone else in the family that he takes after. Okay. By the way, if you want to practice these phrasal verbs, do leave a comment. Write a sentence using one of these phrasal verbs in the comments, and I'll correct you just to make sure that you're using the phrasal verb properly. It's all well and good knowing it kind of passively, but they're often quite difficult to use when you try to use them in speaking or in writing. So leave a comment there. Another great way to practice these is by going to my new vocabulary and grammar platform that I've just released. It's for C1 and we've just released it for B2 level as well. So if you are a B2 level learner, definitely go and check that out. We've got free credits for you running up until the 15th of September. You can try it for free anyway, but we have free credits daily for you for the next month so that you can really get to grips with the tool and get to use it. So there's 24 vocabulary topics, 24 grammar topics, all for C1 level and also B2 level now. And you can play interactive exercises to actively practice all of this vocabulary and grammar as well. So you're not just passively learning, you're actively getting it into your long-term memory so that you can use it in speaking and writing. The link is up there. I'll also put it in the description as well. Go try that out for free. Lots of free credits available for you every day for the next month. Go have a look. Hopefully that'll help you. In the meantime, we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at 4 idioms now. Again, I'm going to test you and then I'm going to show you how you can use them in the speaking exam as well. So our first idiom here is to not suffer fools gladly. So you can say not suffer fools or not suffer fools gladly. Both of these are correct ways to use them. Let's take a look at an example. Don't expect the director to sugarcoat her critique. She's brilliant at her job, but she doesn't suffer fools gladly. What does that mean? We've got a nice word sugarcoat there as well. I think I mentioned this in another video that I did about random food words that have really different meanings. I'll put that video up there if you've not seen it. First of all, if you sugarcoat something, you make either bad news or something bad or difficult that you have to tell somebody. You make it a bit softer and a bit nicer when you tell them, rather than like it being really blunt and hard news. You just kind of soften it a little to make it easier for the person to digest. I think it comes from pills or tablets, medicine. Often you would they're coated in sugar to make them easier to swallow or to make them more palatable. So it comes from that. Anyway, what does not suffer fools gladly mean? So you don't expect the director to sugarcoat her critique. She's brilliant at her job, but she does not suffer fools gladly. If you don't suffer fools, you how can I describe this? You don't suffer fools. You don't put up with people's nonsense. Or you don't put up with kind of people not doing their job properly or like disappointing results that people give you. You're kind of quite blunt and you're quite direct, but we often use it in kind of workspaces. You can use it outside of work actually as well, yeah. If you don't suffer fools, it's just like, I'm not going to take this rubbish that you're giving me. I'm not going to take the bad attitude that you're giving me. I'm not going to take any kind of negative stuff that you're trying to put on me. I'm not having it. I'm not putting up with it, okay? So you don't suffer fools. If you're a fool, I'm not interested in talking to you or dealing with you. Okay? Only speak to me if you are a capable, competent human being. You don't suffer fools. Okay, you can use it in a variety of contexts, like we said, and in anything really, I would say. Right, we'll move on to our next idiom then. To love the sound of your own voice. Okay, this is quite literal. You can probably guess what this means. So, meetings always run an hour late because he loves the sound of his own voice and turns every simple update into a speech. Yes, very literal. If you love the sound of your own voice, you don't stop talking. You talk and talk and talk. You don't really let anyone else into the conversation. We're often quite arrogant as well. It's really not a positive feature of your personality if you love the sound of your own voice. You're quite selfish, you're quite arrogant. Okay. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the salt of the earth. So you would call somebody the salt of the earth. So my neighbours helped clear our driveway after the winter storm without even being asked. They are truly the salt of the earth. Okay. So if you're the salt of the earth, you're a wonderful person. You're humble, you're honest, you're helpful, you're just a great person. You're very needed, you're very necessary for other people. Often you're a very hard-working person as well, but you kind of don't ask for a lot in return either. You're the salt of the earth. Just good people. Okay. And our final one is a bright spark. So we often use this sarcastically. For example, which bright spark decided it was a good idea to leave the office windows open during a rainstorm? What do you think it means, a bright spark? It means you're intelligent, but when we use it in a sarcastic way, it would mean you're an idiot. Which bright spark decided it was a good idea to leave the windows open during a rainstorm? Okay, so it does actually mean intelligent, but we use it in the opposite way, usually. You don't call someone a bright spark in a literal way or like a positive way. It's often sarcastic. So I'm going to test you again. I've got 2 more sentences for you. Let's see if you can remember the meanings of those idioms and how to use them. Our first sentence is, you won't find a more honest, hard-working mechanic in town. Dave really is. And your options are, not suffer fools gladly, love the sound of your own voice, the salt of the earth. You have 5 seconds to complete that sentence. Off you go. All right, your 5 seconds are up. What do you think? So this is something you would call somebody who is very honest and hardworking. Dave really is the salt of the earth. Okay, he's a really good person. He's a really hardworking person, very honest. He's the salt of the earth. All right, and the next one. She is a sharp manager who something. So make sure you have all your data ready before presenting to her. You've got not suffer fools, love the sound of your own voice, a bright spark. Which one do you think it is? You've got 5 seconds. Fill that gap. Off you go. All right, time's up. What do you think? She's a sharp manager who doesn't suffer fools gladly. So make sure you've got all your data ready before presenting to her, okay? She hasn't got time to waste with idiots or people who don't do their job properly or lazy people, disappointing people. She doesn't suffer fools. So make sure you've got everything ready, because otherwise bad things are going to happen. Okay. Right. So there are all our idioms and phrasal verbs. Now I'm going to show you how you can use these in your speaking exam. So your speaking exam in your C1 exam is the chance to use all the phrasal verbs and idioms that you know. You don't really get much chance in writing apart from your informal letter. The rest is generally pretty formal. The review, maybe you could also put some in your review as well. But the rest is quite formal, so you kind of want to stay away from phrasal verbs and idioms in your writing. But your speaking is where you have your time to shine in terms of phrasal verbs and idioms. And personality can be quite a common topic for them to ask you about. So we're going to take a look at a few Part 1 questions and Part 4 questions, and we're going to see how to answer these using the phrasal verbs and idioms I just taught you. So you may be asked, do you think you take after anyone in your family? Okay, let me know in the comments as well, how would you answer that? Write your response to this question in the comments. Try to use the phrasal verbs and idioms I taught you, and again, I'll correct you if you need it. Okay, so do you think you take after anyone in your family? You could answer, I definitely take after my father in terms of temperament. We're both pretty relaxed, though I have to admit we both tend to come across as a bit reserved when you first meet us. Okay, so we've got 2 phrasal verbs there, take after, which was also in your question, and come across as with our adjective. Okay, so pretty simple. So rather than saying I'm similar to my father, I take after my father, you instantly get more points for that in the exam because you've used a phrasal verb. Same with, oh, we might seem a bit reserved. No, we come across as reserved. This is how native speakers talk. We use these phrasal verbs all the time. You can have 3, 4 in the same sentence, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So they're really important to, one, understand, especially if you're speaking to a native speaker, because they're a massive feature of informal speech. And if you don't know what they mean, you're not going to be able to understand someone. But it's also really important that you use these when you're speaking as well, so that you sound more natural. Because often if you use an equivalent, one word equivalent, you can sound quite formal and maybe a bit robotic as well. So try to use them as much as you can. All right, so I've got another part 1 question for you then. How would you describe your best friend's personality? Again, let me know in the comments, right? Tell me about your best friend in the comments using the phrasal verbs and idioms. You could say, honestly, she is the absolute salt of the earth. She's just so genuine and humble, and the great thing about her is how she brings out the absolute best in everyone around her. Okay, so we've got 2 idiomatic expressions there. We've also got a cleft sentence here. The great thing about her is, which is high-level grammar. If you're not sure what a cleft sentence is or how to use it, look up there. I've got a video all about it. They are essential for your C1 speaking and writing, and often pop up in keyword transformation and use of English as well. So definitely take a look at there. Save that video for later. Right, moving on, we're going to take a look at some part 4 questions now. So a bit longer. Your part 1 questions, you don't have to go into detail. Just a couple of sentences is enough. Part 4, it's more of a discussion with the other person in your exam anyway, but you should be giving longer responses to the questions. Okay, so for example, you could get asked something like, some people argue that personality is fixed from a young age. To what extent would you agree? You could say, well, I think our core traits stay somewhat similar, but our behaviour definitely evolves as we mature. For instance, someone might come across as quite insecure or feel the need to show off as a teenager just to fit in. But as we grow older, they often settle into themselves. So while you might still take after your parents in your basic temperament, life experience definitely reshapes how you express it. Okay, we've got 4 different phrasal verbs there. So we've got come across as, show off. I added an extra one here to fit in, another phrasal verb. So if you try to fit in, you try to kind of belong to a group of people, try to kind of make yourself similar to a group of people so that you can belong in that group. So when you're a teenager, you might try and show off or, you know, behave in a particular way so that you fit in with the other people around you, the other people in your class or something like that. And then we also have the phrasal verb take after as well. We also use that in the response as well. And I've got one more question for you. Do you think social media encourages people to fake certain personality traits? Again, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Respond to this question in the comments. Try to use the vocabulary that we learned today, and I'll correct you. You could say, for example, without a doubt. Platforms are basically built to make people show off a curated version of their lives. So a lot of users end up coming across as far more outgoing or confident than they actually are in real life. And I reckon it takes a really grounded person to resist playing up to the camera and just be themselves. Okay, so we've got show off. End up, I added another one there. If you end up doing something, that's a really common phrasal verb that we use a lot. If you end up doing something, it's like you either finish a situation in a particular way. So like, we wanted to go to the cinema, but the film we wanted to see wasn't playing, so we ended up going home. So like the end of the situation was like this. We ended up going home. Or in this case, again, a lot of people end up coming across as far more outgoing. You'll notice also there's an ing form after end up. So this will always happen with phrasal verbs If you have a phrasal verb that's followed by another verb or even another phrasal verb, that following verb will be in ing because you have a preposition before it. So often if you have prepositions followed by verbs, they will be in ing form. Okay, little tip for you there, make sure you remember that one. So we had end up, come across as, and then I also had another phrasal verb there to play up to, which is another new one. Takes a really grounded person to resist playing up to the camera. So yes, you would play up to a situation, or even, a camera, for example, if you behave in a more, how can I say this? You behave in a way to either get attention or to kind of fit the situation you're in, but in a kind of exaggerated way. So yeah, if you play up to the camera, you're not behaving in a natural way. You're behaving in a certain way because there's a camera on you. So you're maybe like more, enthusiastic or like over the top or something like that. You would play up to that thing. Okay. Right, and that is it for today. So remember, podcast is up there. If you want to have a listen to it, go ahead. Make sure that you download the vocabulary list and transcripts for the podcast as well. They're really useful because you can see all of the vocabulary, phrasal verbs, idioms, everything that I use while I'm speaking. You can see it clearly with definitions and example sentences as well so that you can get used to using them. And then if you want to take it a step further and get more interactive practice where you can use all that vocabulary, make sure that you check out the Grammar and Vocabulary platform as well. Link is in the description. You can try it for free and you can really try and get all that vocab and grammar to stick in your mind to help you with the exam and just with speaking and writing in general. So that's all from me for today. Just one more quick reminder, please do subscribe to the channel, and if you learned something new today, make sure to give this video a like as well. If you need any help with your Cambridge C1 or B2 or C2 exams, you can find me on my website at www.englishclassesonline.co.uk. You can also take a look at any of my video courses, the platform that I spoke about, or you can book some individual and group lessons with me there as well. That's all from me for today, and I'll see you in another lesson soon. All right, bye.